It was never really my intention to become an evil hypnotist. There was no defining moment when I said to myself, I know I'll become an evil hypnotist. It was more like a gradual slide. I started out on this path after my marriage failed. That's such a generic term, isn't it? The failure of a marriage. 2 people parting after 17 pretty good years. Is that more failure than 5 happy years and 45 miserable years, barely tolerating one another? I don't know. Either way, my marriage failed after 17 years in much the same way a jet aircraft full of people fails over a metropolis and piles at full power into the centre of the city. In the wreckage of my life, I found the building blocks of what came next. Just to add to my general feeling of disorientation, a few days after separating from my wife, my mother promptly died. I found myself standing in the Armageddon of middle age, wondering, what now? I closed down the business I'd been running, caught my breath, and looked around. And there I found hypnotism. Interesting. My mother died of cancer from smoking. And hypnosis helped people quit smoking. I liked that idea. And I would not have to employ an army of unemployables either. That sounded okay. Just me and a pocket watch, or whatever they use these days. I could do it anywhere. It was in the rapidly expanding field of alternative health, and best of all, it was a cash income. So that's how it started. I got trained, read mountains of books about it, and then got further training. Leslie McIntosh, my teacher, could see fairly early on that I had a special ability in this area. Perhaps it was that English accent, or maybe my nature. Whatever it was, I quickly found myself with clients. I did not want the general clients seeking metaphysical solutions, though. I went hardcore. I went straight into addictions. It's true, that's the majority of my work. I get people off those nasty little habits that they stumble into. For one person, it'll be a little problem with cocaine. For another, it's alcohol gone so out of control that they can't leave for work without a shot. Not so unusual, but if you're a pilot, it can be a little damaging for your career prospects. I have this little problem with sleeplessness. I also get nervous speaking in front of groups. I'd like to work on my weight. Oh, and by the way, I have this whole cocaine thing going on. It's just recreational. I love that whole recreational thing. Is that recreational rather than professional? I've never really worked that one out. So they come to me, I fix them, and they go away, and they hope they'll never see me again. Similar to my history with marriages. Some people expect hypnosis to be like a general anesthetic. They want to wake up, the issue to have gone. They think I have a magic wand and I'll fix them. Unfortunately, life is not quite like that. At least it's not like that unless it's at a hypnosis show. At some of the shows I do, people suddenly find they've lost body parts or that they cannot say certain words. At a hypnosis show, we find the most suggestible subjects and then push them very deeply into hypnosis. I've done dental extractions on stage, aided in countless births of various mammals and marsupials, and had people believe they are the proud owner of a horse won in a raffle, all in the safety of their misdirected belief. They've called friends to see if their apartment is pet-friendly to accommodate their new giraffe, and they've called the local McDonald's to complain of a hamster in their McNuggets. They've cut up their credit cards, cut their hair, and called their doctor to request an early appointment for circumcision. Sometimes these stunts have backfired, but we won't get into that just yet. Most volunteers at a hypnosis show are in a very different frame of mind to the average client. The volunteers are having a good time. They're the ones that will do anything for a good laugh, God bless them. If I tell them they have a bit of a toothache, moments later they're grasping their jaws. If I tell them that I'm going to do an extraction using only the giant pair of pliers in my hand, they believe without question. In a show, the subject is massively compliant. They've thrown themselves in submissive rapture upon the hypnotist's mercy. I am very gentle with my subjects generally. I love show hypnosis. It feeds my ego and that part of me that loves to perform. It's also something I'm very good at. I've put on shows from Whitehorse in the Yukon to Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. As unforgettable as some of these may have seemed to the audience, many of the subjects that end up on stage have no memory whatsoever of the experience. The mind becomes so very deeply compliant, it simply loses the memory. I often have the show videoed just so that the subjects can see themselves, often on YouTube, and they are always delighted. Such a deep hypnotic experience has no value in the therapeutic realm. If one remembers nothing, there's not much of therapeutic nature to be gained. Therapeutic hypnosis is very different. It's not a magic wand. We can't just hypnotize a client and then tell them they no longer have a porn addiction or that they are no longer alcoholic. It just doesn't work like that. We are, however, able to reinforce many of their own coping mechanisms. These range from the way they think about issues to the way they're motivated to exercise. We can help them remove anxiety from many situations, and we can motivate them towards or away from particular actions. Sometimes we can set up such a powerful physical response to the idea of using certain substances, it's accompanied by massive feelings of aversion. I can have clients' hands shake so much there's no way they can find a vein with a needle. Such direct levels of aversion are usually quite short-lived, not always though. Hypnosis is constantly surprising. Most powerful of all is a hypnotist's ability to use suggestion to motivate their client to a desired goal. Sometimes the client's not quite sure why they are doing a particular thing, only that they want to and it will help. So far, I've not found that telling a client that every time they see a blue Toyota, they'll send me a check for $100 results in a stream of unexpected checks. Then again, maybe there just aren't that many blue Toyotas around. Instead, I find that the mind responds much better to subtle prompting. It likes to respond to suggestions linked to our most primal feelings. Understanding the client and being able to tap into these feelings is a place that we can start. With better understanding of the client comes a better method of being able to motivate them through the use of suggestion. As we learn more about them, we're able to litter their subconscious mind with little implanted values, each steering them toward a better outcome. I tell clients that it's not going to feel like a tidal wave that crashes through their lives. No, it's more like a gentle tidal shift that gradually persuades them in a certain subtle but increasingly irresistible direction. Before long, they find those tiny values and suggestions begin to become deeply held convictions and beliefs. It sometimes takes a little while to get there. However, it generally works very well, as my clients discover.